In the winter of 1856, in a snowbound Ohio village, 3 infants were born at the same hour, to the same mother, yet with no father ever claimed. Villagers whispered they did not cry when delivered. Instead, they opened their eyes, staring in perfect silence at the midwife until her hands shook and the basin spilled. Within weeks, the first of many disappearances began. Official parish documents confirm the children's existence. 3 names, written in the same ink, recorded in the same line, as if the priest's hand had been seized by something beyond himself. Local ledgers noted a strange sameness to the boys. Not identical but indistinguishable in manner. Each blinked at the same moment. Each laughed without sound. The mother, Margaret Hale, was never seen again after the 3rd month. Some claimed she wandered into the woods barefoot in a snowstorm. Others swore she was confined to the church cellar for reasons no one dared explain. Her absence was never formally investigated. Her name later was quietly erased from baptismal records. By age 5, the triplets walked in unison. Townsfolk grew uneasy when the children entered the chapel. They would sit at the front pew, hands folded, eyes unblinking, watching the priest with an intensity that forced him to falter during sermons. Parents began pulling their own children from Sunday school. In 1861, after the father vanished as well, the church seized custody. The boys were sent to St. Bartholomew's Orphanage, a stone institution already infamous for its cold halls and inexplicable deaths. Records suggest the triplets never spoke, yet they seemed to communicate wordlessly with other orphans, who often woke screaming in the night. Sister Agnes, the head nun, was found at dawn in the chapel, face pale, hands clutching the crucifix so tightly her nails broke. The cause of death was listed as suffocation by unknown means. Witnesses swore they heard 3 distinct sets of footsteps retreating just before her body was discovered. Doctors from Cleveland were summoned. They described the boys as neurologically unplaceable. Their brainwaves, when crudely measured through galvanic devices, pulsed in synchronization. But whenever the doctors attempted to separate them, instruments malfunctioned. Static filled the room. One physician went blind for an entire day after locking eyes with the middle child. By 1865, the village began emptying. Families abandoned farms without selling them. Letters describe livestock refusing to drink water near the orphanage fence. Parishioners spoke of a hum beneath the hymns, a droning felt in the bones whenever the triplets entered the chapel. The Bishop of Cincinnati intervened, demanding silence on the matter. 7 orphans disappeared over 2 winters. No signs of struggle. Their cots empty, blankets undisturbed. The triplets remained in their shared dormitory, but every time a child vanished, the boys appeared healthier, taller, stronger. Whispers spread that they were not orphans at all, but vessels consuming life itself. In 1872, fire swept the orphanage archives. Only adoption papers survived, each marked with 3 signatures written in identical handwriting. No adoptions were ever carried out. The priest who oversaw the archives disappeared days later. His carriage found overturned near the woods. Horses untouched, reins neatly folded. Letters discovered decades later suggest Union soldiers stationed nearby refused to approach the orphanage grounds. Several wrote Home of Dreams involving 3 shadows with no faces. One regiment chaplain noted that each night before battle, he awoke to the sound of synchronized breathing outside his tent. By 1880, the chapel at St. Bartholomew's was permanently sealed. Accounts claim that during Mass, the stained glass windows would blacken, as though shadow consumed the light. The triplets would stand at the altar rail, hands folded, gazes fixed, until parishioners felt their own prayers draining from memory. A groundskeeper, Thomas Avery, recorded in his journal that he saw the triplets walking barefoot in the snow, leaving no footprints. He swore he followed them into the cemetery, but when he turned the corner between headstones, there was only silence and the faint smell of burning cedar. Avery was found dead 3 nights later, his journal clutched to his chest. In 1891, physicians tried to study the men, now in their 30s, but their bodies showed no signs of aging. Blood tests revealed an anomaly. their samples clotted and dissolved within seconds. One physician attempted to photograph them. Every plate emerged blank, except for faint impressions of eyes. In 1902, the triplets vanished from the orphanage without a trace. Doors remained locked, windows sealed. Their beds were perfectly made. Staff later admitted they were relieved, but a shadow remained in the institution, lingering in the walls long after the men were gone. The diocese quickly declared the case closed. All documents referencing the Hale triplets were confiscated. Orphanage staff were ordered under oath to speak of them no more. Yet rumors persisted. Families whispered that every child who slept in the triplets' beds afterward fell ill, often with no recovery. In 1924, a cache of letters surfaced in Cleveland. They contained desperate pleas from nuns and priests begging the bishop to intervene. They spoke of choral voices in empty corridors, of crosses turning upside down overnight, and of orphans claiming to dream in languages they had never heard. Survivors from the town claimed that in 1936, 3 indistinguishable men appeared at the cemetery gates. They were dressed in outdated coats, eyes unblinking, skin unervingly smooth. They stood in silence until midnight, then walked into the fog. The next morning, several graves were found disturbed. Even today, accounts linger of people drawn to the orphanage ruins. Visitors report hearing 3 sets of footsteps behind them, perfectly in rhythm. Others speak of dreams, always the same, where 3 figures stand at the foot of the bed, watching in silence, until the dreamer wakes screaming. Science cannot explain them. Faith refuses to name them. History has done everything to erase them. But the Hale triplets of 1856 remain one of the darkest mysteries buried in American soil. Some say they were children. Others say they were something older, wearing childhood like a disguise. The truth lies in the silence they left behind, and the silence that still lingers.